The Taiwanese are getting ready. They are prepared to do the hard work themselves. But they're going to need support from the United States, from Japan, from South Korea. These Southeast Asian countries, I traveled to Singapore too, these Southeast Asian countries are all worried. They know Xi Jinping is watching. He's watching America abandon Afghanistan in such a disastrous way. He's watching the United States get rolled by Vladimir Putin. And Xi Jinping is watching the things that America is prepared to do to help our friends and allies around the world. If we don't help the Taiwanese people prepare to defend themselves, this will only embolden Xi Jinping.
And that was former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo on this program back in March. This week, the Chinese Communist Party literally threatened the United States. First, with Xi Jinping telling his Joe Biden during a 2-hour phone call, the U.S. should not get involved with China's position toward Taiwan, saying, quote, those who play with fire will get burnt. Be clear-eyed. This after the CCP-run global state media threatened that the CCP could shoot down Nancy Pelosi's plane if she visited Taiwan. Then the editor took down that tweet and he massaged the wording. Pelosi will visit Singapore, Malaysia, and Japan. She did not specify if she'll go to Taiwan in her most recent press release. Joining me right now to discuss this and how this trip was managed to begin with and the threat of Communist China on America is former Director of National Intelligence, John Ratcliffe. John, good afternoon to you. Thanks very much for being here this morning.
You bet. Great to be with you, Maria.
Especially on this very important subject that you have been all over for several years, first in the Congress, then as Director of National Intelligence. Your thoughts on this trip of Nancy Pelosi's and how it was managed? Will she go to Taiwan? Does she need to?
Well, it's been mismanaged. It's been mismanaged by the Biden administration. And at this point, she does need to go for the sake of our national security, so that the American people see that the Chinese Communist Party is not the one dictating American foreign policy, that it is the American government doing that. But the Biden administration publicly talking about it ahead of time and then not backing up Nancy Pelosi with the media or on the call with President Xi Jinping. I mean, I think we've come to expect that President Biden, his weakness comes through. We didn't have high expectations for that call, but very clearly he did not back up the speaker's right to go to Taiwan. And as a result, President Xi is acting on that weakness. Maria, one of the things that's very concerning here, listen to Secretary Pompeo and his remarks regarding Taiwan, are really spot on. Is, as you know, there's open source reporting about our intelligence community being concerned that China may move to invade Taiwan in the next 18 months. We have long known in the intelligence community that if the Chinese weren't able to, the Chinese government was not able to reunite Taiwan politically, that they would do so militarily. But it's always been nebulous and indefinite in a timetable, and we now know from our own intelligence reporting and from our allies in the Indo-Pacific that President Xi is talking about a timetable of moving on Taiwan in the next 18 months. And I don't think that's that's not a coincidence that happens to be the timetable during which Joe Biden will continue to be the American president. He has, as Secretary Pompeo said, we had this debacle in Afghanistan. The Biden administration lost and surrendered to the Taliban. They did not deter Vladimir Putin in Ukraine, and now we've got this unprecedented circumstance of China literally talking about an invasion of Taiwan through our intelligence community sources. Any one of these individual events would have been historic and noteworthy. The fact that all three of these things are happening during the Biden administration really speaks to what a disaster he has been as a foreign policy president.
Yeah, and when you look at his policy, he keeps being soft on China. We just spoke with Miranda Devine, who broke so much news on all the money that the Biden family has taken in, reportedly more than $30 million from different deals. Then he fails to demand COVID origins investigation. He had a 2-hour phone call with Xi Jinping. We have no evidence that he brought up the COVID-19 origins. We have no evidence that he confronted him on the fentanyl trafficking. He canceled the China initiative, so there's no more investigating all the property theft. He's considering lifting tariffs. He sent to China oil from America's strategic reserve. He's pushing electric vehicles and solar panels and batteries, and they're made in China. I mean, it's absolutely extraordinary. And then they start talking openly about a trip to Taiwan, forcing the Pentagon to get involved. So on a practical basis, what does the Pentagon need to do now? Because China's already warning that they'll respond.
Well, absolutely. So the Pentagon now, in response to the mismanaged Pelosi travel plans, the Pentagon has to be prepared. They have to move either carriers or fighters into place in the event that the Chinese would follow through on some of the rhetoric that's been out there about confronting a Pelosi-led, congressional delegation plane. All of this unnecessary. To your point, there have always been questions about President Biden's weakness mentally, physically. Those issues continue to come up. But the concern also is, as you have pointed out, Maria, is he has advisors that are soft on China, domestic and foreign policy advisors that have worked for BlackRock and have been engaged with the Chinese Communist Party on multiple levels. His policies have been soft across the board. And then the issues about Hunter Biden and the role that that has played, and whether or not there's a financial element to the Biden family that has affected a weak China policy. We just know that it's likely to continue. And as we've talked about, that's why there is such a danger to our national security posture with Joe Biden as president right now, particularly as it comes to the Chinese Communist Party, our number one threat. Very
dangerous. And not only that, but there's $14 million in armament that Taiwan has already paid for, and we haven't sent that equipment. They are owed that equipment, but we've got to wait for that for another time. I've got to get your thoughts on the FBI. What is going on with the FBI continuing to play politics? Your thoughts on now this new report that whistleblowers within the DOJ and FBI are saying that there was a scheme at the DOJ and the FBI to suppress all the information on Hunter Biden. We've been through this umpteen times around the Russia hoax. What can you tell us about the FBI right now?
Yeah, this is sounding all too familiar to your viewers, Maria. A scheme at the FBI and the Department of Justice to influence political candidates or campaigns. We saw that with Page, Strzok, Comey, McCabe, Bruce Orr. But at that time, Jim Comey was the FBI director and was complicit with regard to those efforts. The hope was that Chris Wray at the FBI would move away from the politicization at the FBI. But this whistleblower complaint, very clearly on his watch, the names have changed, but the allegations are the same, that these FBI agents were attempting to influence the outcome of the 2020 election by suppressing derogatory information about Hunter Biden and potentially Joe Biden. And Maria, here's what's important about this for your viewers to understand, is this is more than just about a two-tiered system of justice, about FBI agents being able to lie and get away with it when the American people don't. People need to understand that when we talk about our intelligence authorities, it is the FBI that is the primary domestic authority for investigating and leading to the prosecution of election influence and election interference. It's really a problem when the agency that is responsible for investigating those things is engaged in those things. And so I heard the conversation about, a hearing on Capitol Hill. I would expect Republicans to be focusing with Director Wray on whether or not, his FBI agents were engaged in election influence and election interference, at a time where he was publicly backing me and Attorney General Barr. You remember, as you pointed out, you played that clip where I very clearly came out and said, look, Adam Schiff is making this information up. There is no Russian disinformation involved here. It is the Hunter Biden's laptop, and the investigation is real, and that has proven to be true. Christopher Wray backed that up with a public statement along with the FBI director, with the Attorney General. But now we're finding out that there were FBI agents that were doing exactly the opposite and saying exactly the opposite and suppressing that intelligence. I would expect that to be the subject of much discussion on Capitol Hill this week.
So maybe Adam Schiff was working with the FBI to push this narrative.
Well, I think that's one of the reasons those investigations, since Democrats have been in control of Congress, none of these things have happened, which is why I think a Republican-held Congress can finally get answers to this for the American people, and they should.
Okay. John, thanks so much. John Ratcliffe joining us. Stay with us.
Maria.
We'll be right back with Harriet Hageman.